Yes, we can hear you.
Whoever
Is
is
that
asking
CT?
that, we can hear you.
Okay, great. Yeah, this is CT. I apologize if I'm kind of in and out. I'm putting an infant to sleep, so.
We might need to turn CT's. Can we turn it up a little bit? It's really hard to hear.
Yes, but it's going to kind of create a mess across the board. So CT, you might just need to be a little louder.
I understand.
Yeah, you can just leave it.
Hi, everybody.
It's been a while since we've been in person, so. Make sure. Call to order? 7:04. Okay, so in person, we have Sam. Oh, yeah. Sam. We have Pat. We have myself. And Alex. And then it looks like calling in online, we have Eric, CT. Did you all get the minutes? Okay, any edits? Hello, Sam.
I'll resume my responsibilities after this meeting of doing the minutes.
Thanks, Sam. I got it this time. Would somebody like to approve?
Do I motion?
Me, maybe?
I motion we approve the minutes. That's Mike 6, is that. I second the motion with my second microphone.
I second that motion. Great. Public comments? And not hearing any, so we'll just move on into the first item. So we have Alan Apt here from the Sustainability Advisory Board. And he's going to talk to us a little bit about the Rights of Nature resolution, I believe. Thanks for joining us, Alan.
Sure. So I heard you had questions, or did you just want a general overview?
So I guess let me clarify. So the way that this came up is at the DDA BOT work session, there was a conversation about the importance of running applications or items like this, rights of nature, within the other boards and commissions. So I reached out to Trustee Coombs Ismail, who verified it would be good for you to hear about it. So Alan, I think they need kind of a full presentation of what is the rights of nature, and then specifically what is this resolution as it relates to the guardians.
Okay, I guess my question would be, does PROSAB have a copy of the Rights of Nature resolution?
I don't believe that we do.
I will send it.
Thanks.
Okay, because that's, I think it's very self-explanatory. And, this goes back quite some time to when I was on the Board of Trustees with Eric. And it kind of evolved from my conversations with someone named Gary Walkner, who's been involved with Save the Colorado. And I knew him from Fort Collins when I was on the city council there decades ago. He's been running an organization called Save the Pooter, which was fighting a dam there. I got reacquainted with him when he was fighting Gross Reservoir on behalf of Save the Colorado. Long story short, we had a little bit of a surprise that the mine, the Grand Island Resources mine, called Cross Mine, had been approved at a very high level. And Nederland was completely left out of the loop in that discussion. So we got a lot of good information about that. And at the same time, Gary said, the Boulder watershed is a very important ecosystem that you're adjacent to. And and this rights of nature initiative is international and national. In Colorado, we're one of 3 communities that have adopted rights of nature, along with Grand Lake and Ridgeway. And he said there are several other communities looking at it. The country of Ecuador adopted it as part of their constitution. And I think the simple way to think of it is it simply states that we value nature, we value the ecosystem that we are part of, and when we make decisions, we should consider the environmental consequences. So that's essentially what the rights of nature is about. And we had a lot of long discussions about what is the watershed, what are its boundaries, and it's not intended, it's a resolution, not an ordinance. It is not intended to create litigation. We have no jurisdiction, legal jurisdiction, over most of the watershed. So what it is the community coming together and saying, we care about our ecosystem. And when decisions are made, we should think about the environmental consequences. And, you can kind of think about environmental impact statements and what they mean. And fortunately, the new designation of the mine will require them to do an environmental plan. But the mine is a separate issue, but it was just good timing for me to send you a report similar to what the rights of nature will precipitate. So the Sustainability Advisory Board, we have discussed it for months, and it's been about how do we implement this in a way that makes sense. And, we have no jurisdiction. We don't want jurisdiction. We don't want to have any litigation take place, but the main goal is to keep the community informed of what's going on in our ecosystem. And the best way to do that is to stay in touch with the entities that really have jurisdiction. The state of Colorado, Bureau of Mining and Reclamation, Boulder County, and the city of Boulder all have jurisdiction over the watershed. We have our own watershed, which extends toward the town of Eldora, where we can have jurisdiction. And it's my understanding that the Board of Trustees is still looking at that as a possible initiative to establish legal jurisdiction over a watershed that we do have jurisdiction over. But I think the net result of all this is going to be that we will all be better informed when things take place. When the mine was approved in 2010, Nederland was not informed that the decision was taking place at the state level or the county level. Now we're in the loop. The state knows that we care. We will be involved in the decision on the mine when they propose their formal designated mining operation application in probably July or August. I've been in touch with Boulder County. They are going to be looking for a new special use application on the part of the mine. That will be a public process. we will be involved. We did, while I was still on the Board of Trustees, have the county join with us, and we had a hearing and then just basically an information session about the mine. I have not yet been back in touch with the city of Boulder. I was when I was on the BOT, because they have water testing goals, and they want to make sure that any emissions from any source don't pollute their water supply. So, the main concern, of course, is making sure our water sources remain pure and not polluted. But there is also air quality. There are also land use issues. Wildlife, I think we'll be in touch with the Colorado Division of Parks and Wildlife. So, there are a lot of places we can get information so that everyone in the community, all the boards and commissions in the BOT, are well informed as to what is taking place in our backyard. So that, in essence, what it is. The SAB, we decided that the whole board should, the part of the resolution says we will appoint guardians. And so we just decided as a board that we would be the guardian. The SAB is the guardian of the watershed, and will be the guardians of the rights of nature reports. Essentially, guardian's kind of an oddball term, because we're not going to be guarding anything really. We're not going to be riding around on mules with shotguns and patrolling the watershed. So, but we are going to try to keep people informed. And within the SAB, we have subcommittees that work on various issues. Like there's one on solid waste. There's an energy subcommittee. This will be the rights of nature subcommittee. There are two of us, Rich Orman and myself. Hopefully we'll be appointed as just essentially a subcommittee of SAB. And then we will do an annual report that will be comprehensive about anything that's going on that we're aware of, and quarterly reports, kind of like the one I sent you today, that just says, hey, we just heard about this. This is what's going on, FYI. So that's essentially what it's about.
Got it. Thanks, Alan. Any questions for Alan?
Alan, thank you so much for bringing this to our attention and for all of your work on this. It sounds really, really important. I guess my main question is this I appreciate you bringing this to PROSAB, and I guess is this more of like a FYI, or because it looks like the resolution's already been passed?
So resolutions 2021, 11 and 11A were passed, but there's a Word document resolution that has not been passed. I went before the Board of Trustees on January 3rd, but there wasn't a SAB member present to review it with the board. And then it was at that time that it was delayed, and then the desire was to bring it to PROSAB. So it's not so much, I guess it's kind of a little bit twofold. Do you want to recommend approval? And do you have any notes or edits you'd like to see made to it?
And that's the resolution 2023-04 rights of
Yes.
nature. Okay. And why is there a new, I guess, what's
So
the context?
2021, 11 and 11A so they note that there are guardians, but there wasn't any context in how those guardians came to be. Who are they? What are their responsibilities? So when 2021-11 was passed, there was always an understanding that we'd come back with the very specific information about the guardians.
And is that the only change that's been made?
That's all that resolution is the guardians.
Specifying who the guardians will be for the resolution that's already been passed.
Exactly.
Got
Yeah,
it.
and let me just say that, SAB as a whole are the guardians. Rich and I are the subcommittee, and we are absolutely going to reach out and say, anyone who wants to be involved to participate, this is going to be completely transparent, and we would love to have community participation. One idea I have is contacting Nederland High School, seeing if they have, I think they have an environmental group, see if any of the students might want to be in the loop, because it's their ecosystem too. So I think, the more people that are interested and informed and want to participate, the better. So if anyone in PROSAB wants to be in the loop, that's great. Or you as a group, will certainly be in the loop in terms of anything that comes across our desk, and vice versa. I hope if you see anything in your bailiwick that makes sense to be a part of our report, we would welcome it. So,
Great. Thank you.
Yeah, that was all my question was too, Cap. So I was just wondering what the main changes were from the 21 resolution. So sounds like just the SAB subcommittee and the guardian structure is the change.
I just had a question because it looked like was prepared by this Earth Law Center. It seems like they're going around to maybe localities in Colorado. Is that right? And this is kind of like what they're drafting, and then we kind of adjusted it for our own purposes? So I know the greater context.
well, Gary Walkner did send our legal staff a draft of rights of nature things, which was thoroughly rewritten.
Okay.
And so, what we have now is pretty far from what we saw originally.
But
So,
why you have a 2021 11 and a 2021 11A is because when 11 was initially adopted, it did not run through our legal team. It was reviewed by SAB and the BOT. And so our water attorney looked it over and he had concerns that there were aspects that may not have accurately represented Netherlands' potential future plans with regards to water rights, which is why it was then amended to include the 11A. And so this 2023-4 has been vetted by both our town attorney and our water rights attorney, and they signed off on it for approval and acceptance by the board.
Cool. Good to know.
Yeah, it's worth noting that the amendment to the original resolution did make it weaker, right? It in terms of the rights of nature component, but only ever so slightly. But it did make it weaker, especially in regards to damming and storing water.
So the question is whether PROSAB is joining SAB in recommending approval of the resolution. Is that kind
Yeah,
of?
basically, do we think that SAB should be the guardians? Is
Do we
is
think
really the
that-
question here.
Is they're designating this 23 resolution as the guardian? Okay.
Like, do we think anyone else should be guardians, or do we think that SAB's plan for this makes sense and we approve it? And I do think it's important to go through this as PROSAB, as we are an advisory board, and the creek runs right through our parks. So this is very relevant to what we do on a day-to-day. So I think it's important for us to be aware of this, and we should all familiarize ourselves with the original resolution as well, because it does have detail in it about what exactly the rights of nature might mean in the context of our town's water. And while this is not an ordinance, it has been used. The rights of nature have been used across the world as a legal tool. So whether or not this is an ordinance, it is a step in that direction towards using the rights of nature as a legal tool for controlling land use and protection of wildlife, especially water.
Cool.
I mean, given that SAB has obviously invested a ton of time in this and is the subject matter experts, and the town has a procedure for selecting qualified SAB members, I don't have a problem with SAB, with the resolution, with endorsing the resolution, putting SAB as the guardian. Hopefully I articulated that correctly.
I think it makes
and
sense.
I think at some future date, you folks want to broaden this and have PROSAB be part of this effort. I think at some future date, I would certainly encourage that. I think for now, though, I just say, let's get this passed. You guys mull it over. And if you want to join us as guardians, that would be wonderful. You want to take that as part of your domain or part of your role. Because, you certainly have a environmental bent and are covering a lot of the same very important turf. So we appreciate what you do.
Same to you all. Yeah, do we need to like formally vote on it, or do we like, what's,
Not a four?
I would prefer a formal vote on it as a trustee. I like to see that advisory boards formally vote on things before I vote on things. I want to be advised by the advisory boards.
yeah.
That makes sense.
I mean, I don't know if I am allowed to do this, but I could motion to support it.
You sure are.
I mean, it seems like the meat of the thing is already in place, and this is just making sure there's someone keeping an eye on it and advocating for, you know, the resolution. And I think SAB is the perfect entity to do so. So I motion something.
Yeah, what's the motion for this?
We are going to motion on supporting the aim before us, which is the.
What's the resolution number?
2023-04.
So it would be a motion to endorse 2023-04.
It actually says 2022-04
Yeah, there's a
on the document and 2023-04 on the file.
Oh, it should be 2023-04. So maybe offer that recommendation for amendment before we adopt it. Thank you for catching that.
I mean, do we, as a board, do we want to consider recommending an amendment that would like check in a year to see if we want to become, if SAB feels like they're handling it? I'm just spitballing here. I don't feel strongly.
I don't think that we need to have that in the resolution itself. I think we
Okay.
can do that on an ad hoc basis.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, we'd love to hear from you.
I mean, I suppose it would be nice to also be sent the quarterly reports. Or to
Yeah,
be
absolutely.
included on that list.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, you can add that to the motion.
Super. Happy to do that.
Thanks, Alan.
Yeah.
Thanks for making this happen.
Well, thank you. Appreciate your support. Good
Does
to
someone
see
want to make that full motion then, and someone can second it?
Yeah, that would be a motion to support resolution 2023-04 with the amendment that the quarterly reports also get sent to PROSAB.
I will make that motion.
Do we
You
have
second
a
it.
second? Alex?
Oh, I second it.
Okay. Motion by Kat and seconded by Alex. That is official.
Swing it around for a vote.
Oh.
All right.
Oh, boy.
Let's
This is
swing
like
it around.
parliamentary procedure here.
Yes. Let's take the vote. Sam?
Yes.
Kat?
Yes.
Alex?
Yes.
CT? He's probably occupied. Eric?
Yes.
Myself? Yes. Motion passes.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Have a good evening.
Thank you, Alan.
Thank you.
thank
Thanks, Alan.
Hi,
Yeah.
Alan.
Take care.
You too.
And it looks like we have got with us tonight, hopefully, Amanda and Sarah again from the College of Architecture and Planning, going to be discussing Trails Master Plan Prospectus. Sounds like, did you two, Kat and Alex, both
Yeah.
met with them recently? So
Yeah, we had a
will-
nice, really good meeting.
We've met a couple times
Good for
actually since
updates.
our last.
Yeah,
meeting.
we've met twice.
Yeah.
Wow.
And Miranda was involved in that as well, so.
busy season.
And Nikki
too.
won. Yeah.
Yes. Hi, everybody. Good evening. Me and Amanda are, and let me know if you can hear us. But me and Amanda are sharing a screen because we definitely had some technical difficulties last time. So we're just trying to keep on the same page for us both being in this meeting. But yeah, good evening, everybody. I guess it's evening. We just met with Kat, Nikki, Alex, and Miranda on now, what's today? It was Tuesday, I believe. So for those of y'all who maybe missed our introduction last time or maybe didn't see the email we circulated, like you said, we're students from the University of Colorado, graduate students, and we're helping with the PROST master plan update. We have to, as part of our capstone project, write this prospectus, which sort of acts as a little bit of a contract for us, between us as students and the client, you guys, the client, to help us both understand our roles, what we're offering for deliverables and our outcomes and goals, and how we can realistically achieve those in a 16-week semester. So we worked on the draft of that with Kat and Nikki and Alex and Miranda on Tuesday, and on this coming Monday, or this next Monday, we will be meeting with our capstone advisor to go over that one last time, and then hopefully finalize that and then share it once more with y'all. So we're really looking forward to getting this ball rolling. But yeah, if there's any questions, let me know if no one received. We sent the copy of that draft to the listserv. So if anyone missed that, I apologize. I did send the email twice. The first time it didn't have the attachment. But yeah, so we'd love to open it up for questions, but really what we're kind of establishing right now is just kind of our schedule and of the deliverables, and wanted to field any questions. And this is subject to change. Obviously, we are two students with two different schedules working with a few other individuals with different schedules, and everything is a little bit flexible. But yeah, I'm not sure if there's anything else I missed that would be helpful.
I guess just to provide a quick synopsis of the prospectus for anyone who didn't see it. Essentially what we're working towards is a comprehensive review of existing planning documents that support PROST and other PROST updates, as well as an analysis and an audit of existing parks and trail conditions to sort of come up with a set of recommendations moving forward as to potentially how Nederland, can help continue to support its residents and local peak-to-peak residents and visitors with all the changes that it's been undergoing in the past few years, such as increased visitation, the changing residential community, and what have you. So we plan to do that sort of in the form of a comprehensive report, as well as a poster board presentation to the board come semester's end. And we also just want to open ourselves up to any questions that you all have along the way. If there aren't any that come to mind right now, Miranda does, and the others do have our contact information, and we would be happy to field any at any point in time. But we did want to open the floor up now for any questions upon people reviewing that document that we set out.
Yeah, just for further context, Kat and I and Miranda and Nikki, we went through the document, an earlier draft of the document earlier this week, and Amanda and Sarah have kindly implemented our edits. So I think just the crucial thing for the rest of the board at this point is to make sure that everything you wanted to see in the master trail plan, the goals, the areas for focus, things like that are all captured in here, since this is kind of going to be the roadmap for Amanda and Sarah going forward.
Thanks for doing that.
Did that go out via email?
Yes. The
I
subject.
think yesterday.
Yeah, it went out yesterday.
I'm not sure I see it.
So I went to the listserv, Jesse, so I'd be really interested to hear if you did not get it.
I'm forwarding it to you now, Jess.
And I don't know, Jesse, what email is on that listserv?
I think it's the
PROSAB one?
not PROSAB one.
Wow, we should switch that.
Yeah, there were two emails and the second had it attached.
I forwarded it to you, Jesse. So if you don't have it, you should have it now.
Yeah, will you let me know
title of
later,
that email?
Jesse?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh no, here it is. Yeah, it's 50 deep because it was yesterday. So.
Sorry, what is the title of that email?
It is.
On my end, it says relayed student capstone project prospectus for Netherlands Prost master plan update.
Sorry, very long.
It's okay.
That's okay.
It was sent at 11:28 a.m. yesterday, CT.
From Sarah Drew.
Yep.
Thank you.
So I guess if there are edits, since Jesse and CT obviously didn't know they received it or received it, but I don't know if Amanda and Sarah, I know the due date or whatever was today for this, but I don't know if you're amenable to feedback after today.
Oh, absolutely. Once again, this is a draft that will
Yeah.
be reviewed. And we did speak with our capstone advisor, Jenny, today. We have an official review with her on Monday, this coming Monday. And she's fully expecting, given your guys' timeline, that this schedule that we have suggested is subject to change.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so I guess question is, would it be, do you all want to ask questions or give feedback now, or would you prefer to take some time to read it and then send Sarah and Amanda feedback in writing?
I think it would make most sense to take some time to read through this carefully. Having just gotten it yesterday, I haven't been able to review it, but I'd like to give this the attention it deserves and submit some notes in writing.
Great to see a timeline. I love to have it good deliverables broken down like that by week. So that's really helpful.
Yeah.
Very.
It looks like your final deadline is going to be April. Oh, May.
May.
May, the 5.
Yes, the second week in May, that's when the final deliverables are due. Also, just if needed, we are currently putting it into an Excel format, and it's sort of got block coloring that will help you all better understand, who's responsible for what. So once that's finalized, we'd be happy to send that along as well.
We love spreadsheets.
Yeah, you got some very excited nerds in this room.
That's
Love to hear that.
Exciting. Yeah, thank you.
Really appreciate this work.
Yeah, the part that
So
I'm
si-
most, sorry.
Oh, sorry. No. Go ahead, please.
If I could just ask about, I guess it's not really a question so much as, no, it is a question. I'll phrase it as a question. And that is, I'm most interested in how phase 2 interacts with phase 1, how the primary data sets are going to interact with the secondaries, in particular with kind of best practices and the more scholarly sources of data that you mentioned that you might be drawing from in phase 1, and how you're going to go about prioritizing the purpose of trails in the community. So there's obviously recreation, but there's also many other purposes that people might want to use a trail other than recreation. And so I just wonder how you guys are going to go about that, whether it's going to be primarily based on interviews and charrettes and anecdotal evidence from the community, or if there's going to be a heavier lean towards sort of best practices.
Yeah, so good question. I appreciate that. I kind of how we see phase 1 between phase 2 and even the last phase is they're not strict in that there's a little bit of overlap between the phases. We see using everything that we're learning in the first phase is going to more than likely continue through to the second phase. And really how we're breaking it up is we're using this first phase to really get a good understanding of y'all, of Nederland, of the trails, the parks, open spaces as the information that we have, that we can find, and that you guys have given us and can give us. And that's part of our project. That first half draft too that's really the purpose of that, is really showing and setting up that we have an understanding of this place and making a reason for why we're doing what we're doing. So while we will be using scholarly work to support that and make a case, we will be looking at the community survey and other data that is already existing in this time period as well. And we're going to use that information to really set up, and this will be a give and take as we get more information, but it's kind of set up how we would like to do the methods for phase 2. So I don't know if that answers your question, but
yeah, that does help. I mean, the reason why I asked this question is because my own personal struggle has been, I have found often that what seems to be clearly in the public good when it comes to accessibility and connectivity regarding the trail system is not necessarily something that people in localized neighborhoods agree with. And so there is this inherent tension all the time, right? Where, you would assume that somebody would want an ADA accessible trail that they could easily access from their home to a more centralized location in town, like our small downtown area. But you often find in Nederland that they have the opposite opinion, and they actually don't want that trail to come anywhere near them. So that's like the part of this whole process that I'm most interested in seeing how y'all explore and deal with.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. And it's definitely not the first time that we have heard that comment upon, starting this project. And so, as Sarah was saying, sort of starting to review the community charrette data that y'all have already collected and given to us, in addition to our own observations once we actually get on site starting next week, and hopefully down the road, potentially developing our own community charrette with the guidance of the board. We are hoping to take that all into consideration so we can have as like a comprehensive look as possible, because that's absolutely a concern, and we will be taking it into consideration as we think about those recommendations.
And that's a reason also for why we are doing a pretty heavy emphasis for this first draft on the initial primary research and what you guys have already learned, and running with that and not taking any assumptions, if that makes sense. So yeah, we're excited.
Great, thank you, folks.
Any other questions for Amanda and Sarah?
Just a little comment that can't say how much we appreciate your involvement and your work on this.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, we would like to reiterate the same. We're just so excited to have the opportunity to work on this project. It, is related to both of our areas of interest professionally. So we feel very honored, and we're excited to really get started here. Thank you.
Do you have the next meeting planned? Or?
I don't think we do.
Yeah, I think since it wasn't clear the final, how much time between review on Monday with our advisor and when maybe we can pass on this next finalized draft to y'all. So we need to clarify that. But I think we could definitely, after our meeting Monday, send you an email just kind of giving you an update to you, Nikki, and Alex and Kat, and let you know kind of next steps in terms of getting that draft.
Yeah, I think we left the other night. You all were going to send out a doodle to set up the next follow-up meeting after input from this group and then reviewing with your advisor. And then I think, we'll kind of take it from there.
Yeah.
So I think we can do additional if folks on this group would like to give you written input after this meeting, what would be like the deadline for that so you have it before your next step? Would it have to be like Sunday night?
That would be preferable, but not completely. I don't think if we got it by Monday night, I think that would be ideal. The earlier the better, because any written commentary that we receive before our meeting with Jenny, we can sort of incorporate into that conversation. But like I said, we have constant communication with her. So, but ideally by Monday night would be great.
Cool. Thank you.
And then, yeah, I guess let us know if you want any of us to meet for a site visit when that starts happening too. I'm sure lots of us will jump on board with that.
Oh yeah, we talked about that. So we haven't said it. That's the fun stuff.
That's the fun stuff.
Yes.
We're on board. Get outside.
We like showing off our town.
Looking forward to it.
Bring your yak tracks. It's icy.
Yak tracks and dogs welcome.
Yeah.
I have a dog. I can bring
will
her.
bring.
We'd love that.
All right. Any other comments before we move on? All right. We'll stay in touch.
Thank you so
Alrighty.
much. Have a
Thank
good
you.
evening.
Thank you both.
Thank you.
Bye.
Just moving down the agenda list, we have next discussion about how to move ahead with a formal recognition of parks and open space zoning, what we would need to do. I just have this on as a discussion. This was something CT brought up at other business at the end of last meeting.
Could I just ask, going
Yeah.
back to the trails update?
Yeah.
I think Kat and I were trying to figure out from like a process perspective.
Yeah.
Obviously we distributed this draft to the whole board.
Yeah.
But I think if we distribute, they have a bunch of drafts. If you look at the timeline along the way, it'll get pretty cumbersome. So I want to confirm that the board is comfortable with me and Kat, Nikki, Miranda
Yeah.
continuing to meet and like provide more hands-on comments, but obviously final work product before it's final, but when it's in final draft form will be presented.
Should we send comments, any edits to one of you two then?
Oh, no, I
On-
think you can send on this
No, on this
directly to
send it,
them, but
directly
I'm
to the
just like,
students.
there's a bunch of different drafts along the way
Yeah.
and but if people want to be more involved, I don't want to take that away. I just want to be transparent about expectations.
I just think like, definitely makes sense to point people to kind of run and make things happen. Otherwise it's sort of impossible. And
Right.
Yeah.
So I endorse that for sure. I don't know what, yes, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we'll keep in mind, like if something
Yeah.
significant changes or there's like a new, very fleshed out something, we'll let you all know. And we can, if you'd like to dive back in versus,
I think the beauty of it is you kind of like help them move along and get the things they want to do done. And if we all have to touch it, it's
Yeah.
kind of
it'll take
impossible.
forever. Yeah.
Totally. And coordinating everyone's schedule and
Yeah.
all that. Yeah. Okay.
But I think Alex said this at the beginning, this particular draft lays out kind of the goals and the framework. So definitely eyeballs on that, and any thoughts on specific goals and product, like kind of context, all of that is really, really helpful at this point. So.
Yeah.
I'll ask one more question sort of relative to it. What do y'all see as like the big benefit outcome to them doing what they're doing? Obviously it's awesome, but like how does it, I mean, like I've read it, but sort of just in a bit of a summary, like how does it really help us move stuff forward?
Well, it's great to see the subject matter experts being included on there.
Yeah.
You've got the panels from Dr. Cog, and they do a lot of the grants that
Oh,
I've been
cool.
working on. For example, the Dr. Cog was involved in a potential development of the trail to the high school from Old Town.
Oh, nice.
So
Nice. I mean, I think the answer to your question is in the output of what's in this prospectus. So I think I think what we discussed the other night was a number of different things, including like an updated set of recommendations,
Right.
some sort of resource analysis, and a couple of other things. But I think that's all that is what this discussion is. So if there are different or other things that you think would be the most helpful end product, like at the end, we have this and we then can go
Do
it over the next 5 to 10 years. Like it's what would
Totally.
guide us and guide town park staff.
Yeah.
So I think not
Prioritizing work in the future.
exactly prioritization.
Yeah.
Like
Because Nikki
Grant
shared-
applications.
Kind of to,
Yeah.
like, clear it up.
Yeah, I think
Um,
grant, like the ADA stuff helps
Yeah.
us get grants because then we have
That's so cool.
concrete data
Yeah.
on like what our compliance gaps are,
Totally.
as Miranda said. And then Nikki said when she looks at the old trails plan, she's like completely overwhelmed and can't allocate
okay. Yeah.
resources
Yeah.
at all because it's not digestible and it's not
Right.
prioritized by our resources.
It's like
So
a lot
those-
of big stuff that like each thing would take years to do. So like thinking about it in like what's both realistic and also necessary, and to some extent like also aspiration, like what are the kind
Yeah.
of different. So like I think what we want them to do is actually that question. So that's a lot of what we should give them feedback on, I think.
Okay. That helps quite a bit.
Yeah, it's kind of nebulous. So
Yeah.
that's
Like for me, I want something super actionable, right?
Right.
Like
That's where I was kind of like, what's the like,
Yeah.
because there's like a lot of cool data and it's like, okay, how do we make it pretty actionable?
Yeah.
Yeah.
stuff?
Nikki
And they've
kept
got a
saying chewable.
Yeah, they've got a couple like Olivia and a GIS expert, so they do have a lot of really wonderful resources that they're tapping into.
That's great.
So I think like
Yeah,
for
it
me
seems
it's like actionable and also realistic,
Yeah.
isn't it? Right? Like
Mm.
Yeah.
so and like and based on community input, right? Like what we need and want in this town. So
That's great. Thanks.
Clarify what I was saying a little bit too is that the other master plan, the old master plan, isn't necessary. The plan itself doesn't overwhelm me. It's just that yes, you look at each plan, and each thought takes 10 years to implement because you have a variety of boards and board members, and you don't
Yeah.
have the staff or the volunteers to be able to complete a project. So what's frustrating to me about the old master plan
Right.
is that I can't complete it.
Mhm.
So I'm hopeful that they can help me break it down into chewable bites that I can complete and digest.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to misquote you, Nikki, sorry.
No, that's okay. Don't forget chewable.
And I do think, like, to me, like the thing I brought up the other night that I think is really, really important is to have some sort of resource analysis that is paired with this plan, not just a plan, but like how, like, what do we have that could make this plan happen? What do we have? Like, what do we have budget wise? What do we have staff wise? What do we have like other resources? Why, like, what's realistic? Like, how these two things go together? Because otherwise, without that part, it's just a vision. It's not a plan.
And then we can actually advise and be like, oh yeah, we recommend money towards that and these resources. And
Yeah.
then the BOT can say,
Prioritization.
We're actually gonna have money. at some
Right.
point.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Not us, but you know them.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So, but I think that's a really good question. And that is like, I think
Yeah.
a really important, because it could be like some other group might want more of just a visionary thing. But I think at least this is just my personal thing, but I want something super like
Yeah.
actionable, you
I
know?
think that
Yeah.
seems kind of what we need right now.
Yeah.
Sure.
Will it lay out things like equipment needs in regards to that development?
I think we could ask them to do that if we want to.
Yeah.
So I don't know how, like, I think that might get a scooch granular, but
Yeah.
I think it's all part of like, I don't know.
I think
I don't think
equipment
that might-
needs are going to vary vastly
Oh,
from project to
project to project.
project, from trail to trail.
Yeah.
Depending on how well established something is, if we have to cut new trail, that's a whole different project.
Yeah, I guess like I'm wondering how detailed it's going to get.
Yeah, that's a good question.
I mean, I'm guessing it won't be as detailed as we would ideally want it to be when it comes to an actual project planning basis. But I'm hopeful that this will provide a good baseline that we can build off of, and future boards can build off of.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think the difference between a more comprehensive plan and a more short-term plan is that the comprehensive plan is going to be looking, in the decade plus time frame, right? So there are going to be a lot of unknowns in that amount of time. We can use it though to create short-term plans that have specific budget numbers next to them, so that we know what we can accomplish, and timelines next to them, so we know what we can accomplish within a certain period of time. So I think we might have to generate those more granular plans from
The comp plan.
the work that we're doing now.
I think that's right.
Yeah. Okay, any other comments? All right. CT, would you mind maybe reiterating kind of your suggestion from the end of last meeting? Just
Sure. Regarding the provisionally named Tammeet Forest open space, the lot between the Caribou Room and effectively Tejas Circle and the Joe Smith Park and School Road, making attempts to formalize that as park and open space. We didn't really come to a place where we saw a legal avenue for more formalization, but the suggestion had been floated that some signage in that area would certainly begin cementing it in the public eye as a public resource to be used. And I had some thoughts on that over the last few weeks. Before we get too far down this, I was wondering if any of the Forrest family were still in town.
Hey, CT, do you mind?
They are.
Who is Tammy Forrest?
Tammy Forrest is a teacher at the elementary school. I think she retired last year. Tammy and her husband both live on Upper Navajo.
Okay.
And their sons come back into town on a regular basis.
Then one thing we'd want to do before we went too far down the path of actually attempting to put a name to this would be to reach out to her to make sure that that was something that she was all right with. It may come as a surprise to someone. Some people might not like that, but yeah, I would suggest a prudent first step would be to reach out to Miss Forrest and see if this is something that she would approve of before we start using her name.
See if she likes bikes first.
So just to be clear, is this part of the area that is currently called Indian Peaks Open Space?
Yes.
It's not the entire.
No, this is the entire lot.
But ending at School Road or going past School Road?
I guess I'd need a map to visualize exactly where you were thinking. I was thinking everything
on the Nederland Parks and Trails map right now. Indian Peaks Open Space seems to include the areas to the west of School Road, around that development there, all the way up to the rink.
That may be possible, but I was really just thinking of the area on, I believe it's the south side of that road.
Yeah, I see. Yeah, to the southeast of that road. Yeah, from the Caribou Room down to Joe Smith Park. So just that section. So we would essentially be breaking up Indian Peaks Open Space into kind of two separate parcels.
Yeah, I think that may be a little bit more manageable and ask. And I was thinking that there's actually four kind of entrances to that area. One of them is on property that I'm not certain is actually town owned. The lot that goes from Tejas Circle kind of there's a very well worn path, and there's even some park signage pointing in the direction of that path, but I'm not certain that's town owned property. It's just used by town. So the other three entrances, I think, could use a sign with one more at the kind of crossroads where all the paths come together. I think would be a great start in getting people to think of this area as theirs and not just a kind of ambiguous lot that they may be trespassing on every single day when they walk their dogs or walk into town. To give you an idea of how often that lot is used, it is like right after a major snowstorm, there's still, 4 or 5 tracks at 6 a.m. of people who have walked through there. It's already open space, but I feel that we could do a lot more to give it some character and give it the recognition that I feel the space deserves.
Hey, CT, I have a question / maybe suggestion.
Yes.
I wonder, so it seems like there's two different things here. One is the idea of renaming the area, and then the other is well, there's 3 things. One is the idea of renaming, one is the idea of putting some signage, and then the bigger, longer term is rezoning. I think we can probably agree that that one's like a big long-term thing. So just in terms of the first two, I'm curious, like, what would you think about, because I love the idea of like putting up some signage to kind of identify this as like a, as an open space or a park or what have you. but I'm wondering if the renaming thing might just complicate that. And I'm curious why, would it be possible, like, I'm curious if it would be an option just to put up a sign with its existing name, which is Indian Peaks Open Space on the map that exists.
I think that we certainly could. I think having the endorsement of a local that's really contributed to town could go further in the public eye of having some identity that goes along with the property that's not quite as nebulous as Indian Peaks, which is a very large area. You know, I don't know who Joe Smith was necessarily, but everyone knows his park and where it begins and where it ends. At least here in town, or here in the Sunnyside neighborhood. So I think this would be a good opportunity to drum up more local support.
So then maybe first step is checking with her or the family
Yeah.
or whatever, and then if they're bought in, going from there with the signs and the renaming.
Yeah, I guess I just don't know what the process would be to rename something. I'm just wondering, is that going to be super complicated and have to go through a whole bunch of processes? Whereas just putting up a, yeah, and is it, yeah. Whereas just putting up a sign should theoretically just be allocating money and staff time to make and put up the sign, I think. So I actually don't know the answer to that question.
The CT's kind of primary end goal, though, I think going through the process of renaming it could actually accomplish what it is that he's trying to accomplish, which is for people to use it for its intended purpose as open space. It would give it a little more visibility in the community. We would hear about it. We'd hear about a rename. People would talk about it at board meetings. It would become a thing. It would be written about in the Mountaineer. I think that whole process would actually contribute to the end goal that CT is describing, more than simply putting a sign up would.
Exactly. I think a sign is a great first step, but a name has weight.
Indian Peaks
that
sounds
a sign
very
would not.
generic.
And
What'd you say, Eric?
Indian Peaks sounds very generic.
Oh, I
If we
I like it better, but
Well, I just think people could confuse it with wilderness, right? Like Indian
Yeah,
Peaks.
exactly. They confuse it with wilderness. They confuse it also with the development, like Indian Peaks as a development. I don't think they necessarily associate it as a town-owned parcel of land that belongs to them as a shared community asset when we call it something so generic as Indian Peaks open space.
Cool. Yeah, I don't really have a strong opinion. I just thought it might be. I understand that going through all of that may end up. It could. I feel like it could definitely go both ways in terms of success of the ultimate end goal. So I just wanted to raise that as an alternate option.
thank you
Yeah,
for that.
and it does look like CT that any access to that area off of Tejas there would be through private property. So you'd have to enter through Joe Smith Park from the Sundown side, or enter off of School Road, or off of Indian Peaks itself.
I think the solution there is to simply just not put signage at that entrance for the time being.
Yeah. Yeah.
I do think it would be very beneficial to us to figure out who actually owns that piece of property.
Yeah, an easement could be possible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd be into that.
Expert.
There is upper lot, part of that land that butts up with Joe Smith Park is Tammy Forrest's property. And so Tammy Forrest is right up in that area, as well as the Smith family is still around here too, just so you all know that.
So if it
do
is
you happen to
indeed-
have contact information for either or both of those families? If so, I'd happily volunteer to do this outreach on behalf of PROSAB.
The only contact that I have with the Forrest family is just, I'd actually go right to their door and say hi. That's just me though. Joe Smith
an address
family,
is fine.
so we could, I could get that for you. The Jeanette Smith, if anyone is familiar with Jeanette Smith, or Ressa that works at the food pantry. You could talk to them. That is part of the Joe Smith family.
So do you know, Nikki, who Joe Smith, any of that history?
Yeah, Joe Smith, his son, he was the grandfather of Mark Smith. So, he was, his family's been around here as miners for a very, very long time. And Jeanette Smith is, a dear elderly woman whose husband Mike just passed away, and Joe was Mike's father. And so I guess would it be Ressa was married to Mark Smith, who Joe was Mark's grandfather. So, and then just down the road a little bit for a little more history, the Tom Riley Park. Tom Riley was a doctor surgeon that lived off of Sugarloaf. And their family is still around here too. That's the Chris Willis family. Chris Willis is the head of CDOT up here.
That's awesome.
Super cool.
I
Great.
feel that makes me like the idea of naming it after a local more.
Yeah, thank you.
CT just emailed you the address. I just looked on Boulder property.
Sounds like you got.
I don't want to read it into the public record, so I'm just.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alex.
Without objection, I'll reach out to them, and since we're neighbors, see if they would appreciate that. And
I think that's awesome.
That's very cool.
in terms of the signage, I would volunteer materials to have that built, or
We have budget
raise
stuff.
some capital to see if that was necessary if we didn't have cash on hand.
Do we have budget just for like signs that are just in line with other signs we're doing in town?
We have a sign budget, and it's not something that I would love to dip into a whole lot for. I do have other plans for signs this year, so I don't want to spend a whole heck of a lot of money. But if somebody designs a sign, I can usually get the signs, just a basic 18 by 12 metal sign looking like a street sign type of thing. Those are not usually that expensive. If somebody wanted to take on designing a sign, that you could pass it to me and I could pass it to our sign maker. It wouldn't cost us too much to have. I mean, I don't know how many you guys are thinking, but maybe 4 of them made up for around $125 maybe.
Yeah, the only other thing I'll add in there is like from a sort of town and parks perspective. So as we talk about master plans and sort of this continuity around things, if we have continuity in our signage branding effectively, number one, it looks nice and looks good, makes town look good. And number two, it's nice and people go, oh, that's a park sign, must be a park. So I don't know
if possible, I would love to match it to the design of the Joe Smith sign, which is effectively a piece of cedar that's been augured into Joe Smith Park. I have the equipment to do that. I would just need to go buy the wood. I couldn't finish it as nicely as Nikki was able to do, so I might reach out for that.
Well, if you wanted to make it and give it to our crew, we'll paint it and put it up for you.
I'd propose putting together a prototype for the approval of the board, a sample of one of 4 possible signs for the area. Assuming, of course, that the Forrest family finds that acceptable.
So we just looked up the Joe Smith picture here, and I think we all thought that looked nice.
Yeah.
So
looks nice.
Look like Chipeta,
Yeah, it's very
similar. Yeah, the new ones are slightly different, like Angel, Tilden, which are also nice. But if
Yeah.
CT wants and wants to do one like that, I think that looks nice.
Yeah, I just think as long as execution is excellent, you can go for it. Otherwise, just remember, we're an advisory board and we have resources as a town, and like that's important that we support those that way. You don't have to do it. If you're excited, go for it. But
I'm excited to see things move forward at a brisk clip.
We could,
And yeah, I think as much continuity as we could have in that area, especially looking long term at, notions of a recreational corridor, having things kind of line up, look similar, would be ideal.
but you need the wood.
I mean, I just got to get down to Boulder and do it. So I'm sure I'll be down there one of these times. Although my infant son he likes it up here.
CT, for the other signs that we just made in town, we actually just used scrap C&D wood that's up at our shop.
Oh,
So we didn't buy anything new. We just utilized some of the construction and demolition wood. So it's a very sustainable project. If you'd like to come up to the shop sometime and pick out some wood, I would be glad to let you do that.
wonderful.
So,
Yeah, I'll reach out in the next few weeks and swing by and grab some if you're available.
thank you, CT.
Awesome.
Yeah, thanks everyone. So it looks like signage and renaming, those would be the next steps for that. And like Eric said, I think that the whole process of that will definitely contribute to the end goal of preserving the assets of public parks. Do we have any more comments or ideas about the next phase?
I think it would be good to start bringing in the sustainability board once we've accomplished these first couple steps, and ultimately, whoever happens to be the mayor and the board of trustees for an actual dedication.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
But let's do
Giant
the
scissors.
signs first.
Definitely.
You gonna buy giant scissors for
We
the
have those
ribbon
ones?
cutting, CT?
I'm not going to make giant scissors.
Oh, come on.
We'll make that happen. Some giant scissors.
You could like do like a royal family and plant a tree, but just put one dirt fling on it and then walk away. So
I think if anything, it's carrying away a dead tree would
Yeah.
would be a more fitting dedication.
some fire mitigation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bust out the chainsaws.
Yeah.
And long term, I see that as being a priority and something that we could get volunteers on board with, is removing some of the dead wood in there, clearing it out, and improving the paths that already exist.
I volunteer for that.
All right,
Yeah. Dirty.
great, thank you. That's all I had for this. I appreciate everyone's input.
Thanks for making this happen, CT.
Yeah, thank you, CT.
Absolutely.
All right. If there's no other comments, just move on to the next agenda item. And we will turn it over to Sam, see if you've got any updates or anything you want to mention bike-wise.
No current updates. There are a lot of people who are reaching out to me and just really excited about this stuff. And Jesse's out of town, but he and I are having a chat next week and just seeing like, okay, where are we at? What do we need to do? I will say, there's the potential for that area to have a little bit of a bike zone. So ask Tammy if she likes bikes before we dedicate it to her, because that could put a damper on it.
I think maybe let's get the signs and the name first, and then see what else we could put it to.
Yeah.
I definitely appreciate utilizing that property for outdoor recreation of all kinds. But let's take this 2 steps at a time.
2 steps at a time. I like that. No big updates right now. We should have something next meeting though.
Has a decision been made whether the proposed project will be asphalt or dirt?
No, we hadn't decided on that
Okay.
yet.
Cool.
We're just looking at like what are the options for surfacing and what is their sustainability in terms of like environmental sustainability and then also maintenance
Yeah.
sustainability. And then also experience wise, what creates a better experience and what surfaces allow us to host competitions as well for kids and adults to be able to participate and be like on a competition circuit and, you know, also enjoying a track that's like got that world-class approach in terms of its surface. So, but not a specific answer yet.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was just curious.
There's so many questions that have come up with the asphalt or like not asphalt, but with the pump track in general that you're like a pump track and you're like, oh, a pump track. Like there's a ton of little things. So
Yeah, can mean a lot of things.
yeah. But that's that.
And there's the two different plans kind of moving forward
Yeah.
at the same time. So
Right. The pump track and then like more downhill oriented flowy features for people to ride.
all right,
Neat.
we'll return to that one next time.
Yeah.
Cool. The next thing we have is Adopt a Bench. So I just sent out kind of the most recent stuff that.
Sorry, Jesse. Sorry.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say one thing to Sam, or ask Sam a quick question.
Please do.
Sam, have you talked to the DDA at all about this?
Some of the folks on the DDA have reached out to me and I believe is it Tanya specifically. We chatted and then she reached back out, just asked how it was going and said they're really in support and she specifically is in support of, you know, what can they do to help us move this forward?
Because it's the kind of infrastructural project that the funding that the DDA has is actually suited for.
Yes.
Because it will drive traffic and business to the community, and that's exactly what they're charged to do. So they've got $2 million authorized, I think.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
they've
and
got
that's
some
actually the
money.
conversations that we've been having. They're kind of offering, I'll go back to this for a moment. They've basically, some of the members on there have sort of offered to discuss this, bring it up, and see if they could get approval of some of their funding to help move this forward plan-wise. And then from there, you know, even what can they do to help fund it? Because like you said, it's like a great opportunity to collaborate.
So they didn't put it in their budget though, Eric. And so yes, they have money, but it's not a line item listed. So
And right now, it's
Well,
just
it's not advanced enough, I don't think, for them to have actually put it in the budget yet. So maybe next year it'll be on a line item.
they are talking about a supplemental. And so just a reminder, and I think everyone knows this, you still have to run it through the NPP process. So you're going to have to bring it to them anyways.
we're still like figuring out, okay, what are the very specific things that we would ask them for money for, you know, and what is the exact amount? And part of that is that we just had a baby, my wife and I. So, but we're sleeping through the night, so we don't have any excuses anymore.
We've got an 18-day-old ourselves.
Oh, congratulations.
Hey, all right, well done.
18 days. I know you said you had a baby in the house, but
God,
Amazing.
everybody on PROSAB is having
Babies
they'll need
everywhere.
to get together. Just bring
There is a population boom happening here.
We don't have enough room in this town.
I was gonna say, these kids are now an important voting bloc. Yeah, I propose that we get all of these infants in a room and take pictures.
Yes.
For sure.
Motion passed.
All right.
Apple it, Gracie.
Congratulations, both of you.
Yeah, it's super, super awesome.
What were we talking about?
Babies.
If you need any particular stuff, we're kind of moving past certain stages that might be helpful.
The thing, if we
Same
run
here
into
for you.
we run into a wall, we'll let you know.
Get them all on bikes.
Seriously.
We have it.
Strider. Yeah, you're
Yeah.
a Strider already.
Oh, speaking of bikes, it did look. It sounds like the elementary school project that Gavin Combs brought to us a few meetings back is moving forward.
Oh, that's awesome.
Saw
Yeah.
that.
That's so cool. to
So
hear.
excited about that.
So that's good news. All right. Okay, anything else? We will just plod on to Adopt a Bench stuff. So I sent out just today, I think it was, the the most recent revision of the verbiage we have for the guidelines and a draft of the words that might need to go onto application forms, and then a link to current bench locations. And then I guess we would probably want Nikki's and town staff's feedback on whether that looks, whether this is the information that you need for such the project. And but
I was not at work today. I'm sorry to interrupt. Go ahead, finish.
yeah, well, there's no hurry on it, so we just sent that out to you. I think it's the same. The words are pretty much the same as you've seen before, except we changed the fee amount for the new bench to reflect what was in the 2023 fee schedule. Which
Thank you.
yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Thanks. I appreciate that you changed the fee to reflect the fee. As soon as I come back into work on Sunday, I will review that document and give you my thoughts on that. I'm sure if it's like it was before, I would totally give you my thumbs up.
At the moment, it just says, so it says 2,000, and then this amount is subject to current market price and fee schedule.
That's interesting.
Perfect.
Is the goal, Jesse, to then publish?
Get those up on the website.
Yeah, because
On the-
neither are
on the
currently,
PROSAB
but they're on the
webpage.
fee schedule.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, so I guess once that is confirmed, kind of that it's make sure town staff have got everything they need, then it would go up onto the PROSAB or Parks page.
And then we have an adopt a bench program.
Yes.
That's great.
Yeah.
Jesse, have you reached out to Lisa Riley Ross?
No.
She is a lady who was inquiring about a bench this was a while ago. And I put her on hold and told her we were working on the policy. She would be glad to pay whatever for a bench for her son Mason that went to school up here and died a few years ago. So we have our first applicant as soon as this is up onto the website and ready to go.
Okay. All right. Yeah, thank you.
We had briefly talked about Adopt a Trail. If I drafted or took a stab at drafting Adopt a Trail guidelines, Nikki, is that something that would be useful or you'd be receptive to, or you're not ready for that right now?
I would be receptive to it. We were kind of waiting to see what happened with Jesse Sievers and his efforts to adopt the tiny piece of trail that went from the community center to 4th Street. Because I'm hesitant to put that out to the public without knowing, what our expectations of adopt a trail would actually be.
Yeah.
Adopt a trail to means someone that can come and clean up trash and pick up dog poop and let me know if the trail needs maintenance. I don't necessarily want people out there trying to maintain a trail themselves. But that was where I think we left it. And if you wanted to take a stab at some kind of what your thoughts would be, I'd be glad to look at that.
Okay. I mean, I think we're going to check in with Jesse like once it was spring, like the snow clearing was kind of done. So I'm happy to wait till then and see how that experiment goes. I have. I was just thinking about
right
it.
now, so we shouldn't judge it on
Yeah, right after some snow.
Well, Jesse does take it to all the board meetings, so he's got to be maintaining it for him to be able to walk it.
Yeah. Okay. Is there anything else we need to think about for this, or we'll just hear back from you, Nikki, whenever you get a chance to take a look?
Yeah, I'll get a peek at it on Sunday for sure. And then I'm ready to move forward with it as soon as possible. Certainly.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
thank you guys for getting that done. It's
Am
great.
I safe to assume though, then Nikki, you'll coordinate with Peter for obviously a big post and pushing it out social media wise? Or are you looking for a representative from ProSab to support with that?
I could get with Peter. That's no trouble at all, Miranda. Peter and I have a lot to go over as far as trying to update the parks web page and stuff like that as
Cool.
well. So
I have lots of nice park bench pictures that I've been taking over the years I could send to you too.
Yeah, I mean, I know he'll do,
All right.
the ideal if you could do one of those like really artsy pop out posts that go throughout social media about this when he gets a chance, instead of just uploading on the website and then it getting lost in the
Yeah, that'd be
shuffle.
cool. Thank you.
yep.
All right. There are no further comments. We just have one other thing on the agenda.
Jesse, do you also, I think you have two. Did you talk about the alternate?
Oh,
No,
no.
so I think
Yeah,
one's
that's
towards the
right
end.
at the top.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, let's just do that one now then. Alternate vacancy. Ari resigned. So that spot is now open. Is there anything we need to do to promote that? Or just we just
No, I've asked Peter, he's not gonna have time this week, so I asked him to push it out next week. Once it goes out, 21 days of application. Obviously, if we don't get anything within 21 days, we'll just leave it running. I think it's just a matter of maybe talking to your own networks, letting people know.
What does, the alternate attends all meetings and but only votes if,
You're lacking quorum, or that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
Because like tonight, Ari, or your alternate could have voted because you don't have Brian.
right.
okay.
Or if they need to create quorum for you, but either lack of quorum or you don't have all 7 members.
Oh, okay.
Because you don't obviously have a lack of quorum issue tonight, but you don't have your 7 members.
So they could like fully participate in discussions and that sort of thing. They
They-
just,
And I think that somehow got a little, and Ari has a lot of other things going on, but I think somehow that got lost kind of in the translation of like, for a while there, she wasn't attending and didn't know. She thought maybe she needed to be called on. So we corrected that, which is why you saw her more over the last couple of months.
Got it.
But then I don't think it was going to be able to work for her when she started coming pretty consistently.
so they attend all meetings and they vote if anyone at all is missing.
Basically, yeah.
Oh, okay, so that's like pretty crucial.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's kind of like having an 8th member. It's just, when you have a full board, that person just doesn't vote.
Cool.
So we'll go ahead and get that posted out. Can't remember if we had more applicants than vacancies in June, but maybe I'll reach out. We did.
We
I
had
forget
two
the
You're right.
gentleman's name.
Lindsay
Yeah.
and then that
Oh, yeah,
guy whose
Lindsay,
name I
yeah.
can't remember. He
I can
he
reach
seemed
out to
to be
them.
interested.
if-
And Lindsay was definitely interested.
Yeah. Okay. I'll reach out to them and just say, hey, this alternate is open if you're interested.
But we'll wait for it to be available, like the
Mhm.
application be available, but then
Yeah. And I can't say exactly what day. Peter will do it sometime next week is really.
I'm an avid follower on social media,
Right.
so I'm sure I'll see.
Like us on all platforms, please. And I do have maybe some updates.
If someone wanted to reach out, sorry. If someone wanted to reach out to Gavin Coombs, he's another one who's expressed interest at one point in
Great
time.
idea.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And Jesse, speaking of Peter, I think maybe we have a solution to your next agenda item, but I don't know if you have your own solution and that's why it's here. Otherwise, I think we have a solution.
No, I don't have a solution, but I do have, I guess I should introduce it. So the next item is meeting minutes and agenda storage. And it's just about getting the minutes and the agendas probably up on the website.
Yeah, so we just need your minutes. So SAB has a Google Drive, right? So we just link to their Google Drive and it makes it super simple. ProSab, I think, is a little bit scattered all over. So all we need is for you to send it to us, and us is Peter and Macy. Send it to them, and then they're ready to upload it on Civic Web. When you go to an agenda packet on Civic Web, you can actually click on the minutes there as well for like Board of Trustees and Planning Commission and some of those. We'd like to do the same for SAB and ProSab. So everything is stored on Civic Web, one spot. We don't have a Google Doc thing. I think, Jesse, you and I talked about this years ago. My concern is that I don't really know where all the minutes live, and somehow we need to get them like on a flash drive or
Yeah.
linked to some sort of Google Drive, and whoever has them.
So I have all the ones that I took minutes for, but I didn't necessarily save the ones. I know Atashna did a bunch.
Yeah,
And Sam has done some. So those are the ones I don't have. But the ones that I do have, I've got in a Google Drive, which I will share with you.
Okay, cool. And I can obviously search for Atashna's in my email. But basically, Peter and Macy are going to divide and conquer, and one's going to take SAB and the other one's going to take PROSAB. We were only intending to probably go back to like 2020, 2019 and not go. We feel like that's a solid 3 years worth of minutes seems pretty appropriate.
Yeah.
And if someone wanted older, they could court request it.
Yeah.
Did anyone follow up with Lindsay though about like the specific ones if she was looking for very specific ones? I didn't.
No, I just started working on kind of looking through and seeing what I have and putting them into this
Yeah.
drive.
Okay. I have to call her here. I haven't had a chance to call her yet about the pros update. And so I will just mention that that is our plan and let her know when we have the minutes done.
Okay. Yeah, I think once we've got that and just staying on top of it will be a lot easier.
Yeah, agreed. So from there, you would just make sure that a copy gets to Macy and then Macy can just quickly upload it.
Okay.
I guess that's Sam. Because even though your agendas end up in Civic Web, that's how we end up posting it. So
Yeah,
to me, it makes sense to just put the minutes right there as well.
Yeah.
So we heard it loud and clear when they were asked for from you, and just realized across the board we have some cleaning up to do. So we're on it with you.
Any other business?
One thing, just not really to add to this meeting, but maybe for the next one
Yeah.
as an item, is just understanding like some of the changes that were not super recent, but recent and will impact us in terms of the funds that town with taxes have and like what that means for our board and what we have access to, or, you know, where, if we should look at other boards for projects that we want to happen, just so we have a kind of stay on top of our understanding of what funds we have.
I think it's a little tricky because obviously, you know, looking at your bylaws, like you're an advisory board, you advise and give recommendations to Nikki for how she should use
That's
what
a
are
better way to say it.
her funds.
Yeah.
So the Parks Fund won't be developed until mid-year because we need to know what the revenue stream is going to look like before we can build it. But when we do build it, it's only going to hold very certain things. It'll be income from marijuana, income from the adopt a bench, but only used for, Nikki, correct me where I'm wrong, equipment, trails maintenance, like 2 or 3 items. Like our streets budget is the same way. Like only a handful of things fall in the Parks Fund. Everything else will go to general. But I do think, you know, it's really just being mindful that she needs to make operational decisions. And so it's hard when boards try and tie up funds that you don't know what she needs. And
Right,
so,
exactly. Yeah.
Nikki, chime in where I've maybe misstated, but I think that that's generally the thought behind that fund.
You just hit the nail on the head. That was beautiful. Thank you.
Well, and just like making sure we understand all the different funding in different ways that are occurring, and so we can advise in a way that supports what needs to be done.
Yeah, and I do think so. You obviously are working on a lot of projects. SAB recently did a goals session. It's kind of cool because they were able to identify what their top 3 priorities are for just 3 for the next 3 years. And then we know exactly how we're going to pull the funding in.
Oh, cool.
Because it's not this like overwhelming list of projects. I think the DDA has fallen into that where they get too caught up in a lot of these projects. It would be neat to look at your large scale, especially when your trails master plan is done. Like when that's mapped out, now let's start attacking figures so that when Nikki sits down to budget with myself and Rita, there's the priorities and she knows exactly what kind of money she needs to go after and ask for in future years.
Okay.
So I think that's going to be forecast.
Another thing oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, you go.
Okay. When the budget book comes out, I wrote a budget message and I could actually send it to you guys, I suppose. I think I can send it to you. But that budget message lays out some of my goals for 2023. So if you'd ever, when we get the budget book, like to look at some of those goals, please feel free to read the budget message that comes from the Parks Department.
I think that would be super good for us to know what your goals are, and that way we can help support them and, advocate for those, because we're kind of there to do that in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I feel like last year was a lot of like, what does it mean to be a Parks Department? And honestly, what are the expenses?
Yeah.
This year, I view it as more, what are the revenue opportunities that are before Nikki and
Yeah.
team with rink and tennis? I don't know, Nikki, if you want to share rink, but rink brings in a lot of money. Adopt a bench, pickleball.
Yeah.
She wants to do a scholarship program, special events. Like this is the year we figure out how can we generate the revenue? And then I think 2024 is a marrying of the two.
Okay.
Of like, now we know how much money we have, what can we truly accomplish?
Right. Cool.
It may
Yeah,
also
the
be worth-
rink on, go ahead, CT.
Sorry, I was just gonna say that it may also be worth considering now that we have a budget or are in the process of forming a budget, if an advisory board is what this body should stay.
What is your other recommendation?
That we look towards more broad projects and initiatives, thinking about things like setting up a trust, thinking about things like putting together fundraising to purchase land and make larger coordinations. I know it may seem deeply aspirational, but the green ring around Boulder didn't just happen. People made Herculean efforts to slowly build it out over time.
I think, sorry, maybe my cautionary tale a little bit is like, we love you all. We love our advisory boards. You got to think about your staff. We are not big enough to take this stuff on. And so I really think when you dive into new projects or you start to think about what you're going to do, it's the team of 4 that's going to carry it forward that is smaller than the board itself. And so I really want to make sure that anything you do moving forward, you have obviously Nikki's full buy-in and her capacity. If she can't do it, definitely like let's pause it out and like it's a 2025 goal. It doesn't mean it can't happen, but I think this is a tough year and I'm just going to speak for Nikki. I think it's a tough year for that team.
Okay.
And so I'd like to give them a little bit of space to, let's get the Trails Master Plan done. Let's get rink live and surviving. Let's finish GoCo. I mean, just think about what we have ahead of us.
Finish things.
I don't think this is the great year to get too deep into new. Let's like stabilize, survive. And then I do think 2024 is like, let's hit the ground running, but I'd like to give her the space to finish out all the things that are currently in the works.
And if we need to be having discussions about advising boards, increasing the staff as well, budget, so that you can take or
Exactly.
sustain.
I'm not advocating us moving in a particular direction now, but I'm advocating long-term open minds.
Yeah, and I think
That's
Sam hits
great.
the nail on the head really for me a little bit as I'm thinking more about advisory boards. It's like advocate for that team and you spend a day, not spend a day with Nikki or Brian or Mark or Sam, like go spend a day with them and you'll see just how much they do in a day. And yes, more staff, paying the staff more, like those are some
The
things.
things that make people want to stay, the things that make it exciting to be a part of it, in a significant way.
Yeah, I agree. And so I do think
Because
that
that's what, like you said, carries everything forward.
we'll bring a compensation study before the Board of Trustees, but we just did a rebuild of utilities last year. We obviously have the police department, and I say all the time, like, we don't want to be there with parks. That'd be detrimental to us if we ended up with no one. And so really being mindful of what their capacity is. And that's why I think this year will be very exciting because we'll be able to see financially just how much can be done and how much more parks can be added on to and enhanced in the years to come, because this is going to be a great developing year.
It seems like, it's a good year to support the team in wrapping up projects, looking towards putting foundations in, building, and like thinking towards like what comes after that.
Yeah.
So,
Agreed.
yeah.
Yeah, I see.
So just an asterisk sideline. Oh, And I'm trying. Asterisk sideline. The rink. Disco night. 161 people outsold Backdoor Theater on opening night for Avatar.
Wow.
That's
That
awesome.
is if you figure about
Cool. I
you
was-
know, $12, $10 a head plus skate rental. That rink on that particular night alone brought in $1,800. It was a little more than that. On one 3-hour session. The rink is huge. And if you haven't been there, you need to go there. This is one of your assets. You need to come check us out. Brian and Mark and myself have taken ownership of this place. And the four of us, because I have a new guy now named Sam. And I have Scott Porter, who's my part-time rink lead. But we have taken this place and we are rocking it. So we're open every day for something. Hockey, open skate, Friday night disco night, 3-hour session, huge numbers. So come check it out.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Congratulations.
Yeah.
It
Well
need-
done.
I haven't been since you guys took it over, but it needed a lot of love. So I'm sure you're investing all of that. And that's amazing.
PROSAB, should we do like a group disco skate some night?
Yeah, cool. Let's do it. That'd be
Costumes required.
I have a
Bro-
picture.
Brian does a center ice dance off and he wears a glow of a light up coat. It's like all disco and he offers prizes for whoever can do the best center ice dance. It's really fun. Definitely pop over on a Friday night for disco. I was actually thinking of hosting a town staff / board come to the rink and let's do an open skate of some type because it's really a very, very special place.
Yes. Let's do it.
Okay, we're going.
All right, it's on.
Brian's perfect for that. Needs a hood disco.
Anything else? Got a lot going on. Thank you, Nikki, and happy birthday.
Happy
Thanks.
birthday.
Happy birthday.
Your birthday.
Nikki.
Yeah. Motion to
Yeah.
adjourn for
Spent the day with my grandkids at the rodeo.
Yeah.
It was great.
Aw.
Let's do that.
Stock show.
Motion to adjourn.
Yep, I went to the stock show with both my grandkids and
Second.
of course my youngest, my grandson's a couple months old,
Fun.
so he wasn't walking around, but my granddaughter was really enjoying the rodeo and the petting zoo, so it was fun.
Nikki, in honor of your birthday, I'm going to motion to adjourn so you can enjoy the rest of it.
Yes, we have a motion from Sam, and we had a second from CT. 8:41.
Thanks, everybody.
all.
Thank you. Great work.
Folks, thank you.
Nice birthday present. Thank you all.
Bye.